If you're doing this for money, you're in the wrong business. At the end of the day, somebody lost their family or lost their potential, all their belongings, everything is gone. And this is when I had this one meeting where the family specifically told me like, hey, Jess, we're eating in 3 different rooms now. We're not used to doing that. We literally lost everything on our property. And money's great. I mean, obviously it makes the world go around and all other stuff, right? But at the end of the day, we're in hospitality and we're trying to serve people. So as I'm talking about these numbers, I really want everybody to really put everything back to perspective that we're helping people.
Hey everybody, Jose Luis Morales. Welcome back to another episode of the Morales Group Show. Today we have Jesse Vazquez. He is a short-term and midterm rental specialist. And today he is going to be going over with us how to provide housing for insurance companies. In other words, when somebody gets in a flood or a fire, a lot of times those people are displaced, and the insurance companies typically place them in temporary housing. Jesse today is going to show us how to be able to capitalize some of those people that are being displaced and how to basically get higher prices for your rentals through providing housing for insurance companies. Welcome to the show, Jesse. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks, Jose. Thanks for having me here. I'm glad to be here. And this is definitely a topic that I am an expert in. So I'm glad to share with you and your audience about, what I've been able to do in my business, and hopefully people can implement it into theirs.
Yeah, I love it. So the reason I'm excited about this topic is we're implementing a lot of this stuff right now. So we have 57 units in Ventura County. What we decided to do is instead of adding units, we just started looking at our portfolio and say, okay, like, are we fully optimized on this portfolio? Meaning, is there room for additional cash flow by adding like Airbnbs, by adding midterm rentals? And then the insurance one is one that I have not implemented yet, but I'm excited because I think our viewers would get a lot of value. So for our viewers who don't know who Jesse Vazquez is, who is Jesse Vazquez and how did you get involved in this wonderful world of real estate investing?
Yeah, man. Thanks. So again, you got my name right, Jesse Vazquez. I'm in the Central Valley in California, Modesto to be exact, which for those of you that aren't familiar with it, I'll paint a picture for you. It's basically the armpit of California, literally. Um, there's nothing cool here. It's not like Ventura County. We're not by any beaches, but I am in the middle of like an hour I'm in the Sierras, an hour I'm to the beach. So I'm kind of in the armpit in a good way, right? If there's even a possibility for that. But yeah, man, I got into real estate investing in 2015. I worked in the healthcare industry for 18 years. I just left in July of 2021 during the pandemic. And I think the pandemic kind of sparked a lot of people to think outside the box or leave their jobs or, right? We know about the great resignation. I was definitely part of that resignation. But for me, working in healthcare on the back end, I realized that there's so many opportunities to house travel medical professionals. That's also something that I do in the midterm rental space. And working in healthcare, I saw these clinicians coming in. I then went to the source and figured out how to get a contract with the hospital to actually pay for those clinicians to come stay at my property. So back in 2015, I picked up my first property before I even owned my own personal property and got a contract with the hospital so they would house house the community members that were coming in from out of the area. And even back then, we were 3xing what long-term rental rates are. So that's just how I got initially started in real estate investing, was by finding out, the need and kind of going after it in my own backyard.
And how did you land on or how did the idea spark up of also providing housing for insurance companies? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so we have in everybody listening to this right now, and Jose, you probably had this happen to you too. Or if you have an Airbnb property, you'll get a booking by literally an insurance company. They'll message you and say, Jose, I have a family, they've been displaced. We're actually looking to rehome them. We want to book your property for 6 months at a time or 3 months at a time. Have you had that happen to you, Jose?
Not yet,
Yeah,
but
okay.
then again, I'm not the actual manager, but I'm imagining that to our person and to most people it's happened. Not only that, but like in my neighborhood, there was a fire recently, and
Mhm.
the first thought is like, where do these people move in? Like they had to move in somewhere, you know?
Yep. Yeah. So that's exactly what happened to me. I've always been super intentional with my business, especially in this space, obviously by going after the travel medical professionals. But in 2016, I ended up getting a booking from Airbnb, and it was in a company, and they're called ALE Solutions. They're this giant national company. And ALE reached out to me and they said, "Hey, Jess, we have a family that was just lost their property. It's over in the college area. We see that your property looks like it might be in that same vicinity. Is there a way that I can connect with you offline? So in Airbnb, it's hard to have dialogue with somebody that's not like, you have to like talk to each other through the platform. I can't put my phone number. So I had to get creative and write like 2 and then the letter O and then 9 and then my number, right? You got to like get all creative. Anyway, this representative reached out to me and she just basically said, hey, look, I'm looking to house this family that's lost their property. This is typically what we pay. And at that time, in 2016, I bought a property for $300,000. My mortgage payment was $1,500. And she said that they were looking to house a family that is staying in 3 different hotel rooms as a family of 6. And I looked up the hotel. They were staying at Holiday Inn Express, and it was $149 per night. So 149 times 3. Jose, you good at math? Do you know what that is?
That's 3,000, 4,500.
4,500. Okay. 450, right? 450, you mean? 450.
Yeah.
Okay. Or is
So
it 500?
say it again.
Yeah, 150
No,
times
so say
3.
it again.
150
150 times 3. Oh yeah, 450. I thought you said by 30. I
Gotcha.
automatically started thinking like on a monthly rate. So
All right, cool.
yeah.
All right, there you go. Your brain's on that end now. So I'm not good at math. That's why I'm having you do this, so everybody can say that you're the person that's not good at math, not me, if you happen to mess this up. So 430 times 30, what is that?
430 times 30. Let me break out the calculator, bro. I think that
And I just want this to come down.
it's probably somewhere around 15,000 because 500 times 30 is somewhere close to that.
There you go.
So maybe like 13,000. 430
Okay,
times.
perfect. And I'll let you answer this real quick. And this is where I want to go with this conversation, so you get it. So my job that I worked at before was in sales, and my job was to make people's lives as easy as possible. Whether that's me working, I had to make sure that these people had. I'll dive into what I did before, but anyway, when talking to this woman, I figured out if they're paying $15,000 a month for 3 rooms, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that can house that entire property, and I can do it for half the price. So if they're paying $14K, I'm like, and I just shot this number in the dark, man. I was just like, yeah, I have no problem renting this property to you guys, but it's going to be $7,500 fully furnished. And she didn't bat an eye. She's just like, okay, perfect. We're going to have the adjuster. We'll get back to you, and then we'll let you know what happens. And at that point, I was like, holy smokes. Like, I first off, I saw how much they were paying already, right? This is where you got to go and do research. You got to understand your market. You got to know what you're doing. You got to have the vernacular. I didn't know at that time. And for me, I'm just like, holy smokes, they're paying for 3 rooms. They're already paying over $14,000 a month. Now, my job in sales, I come from sales in the healthcare industry, you guys. So my job was always to make people's lives as easy as possible. That's how they're always going to use me. They're always going to refer back to me. Same with real estate agents. You know, you put in work today and it's going to pay you back in 6 months. You don't get the residuals right now, but over time it will. And that's where relationship building is. So my job was to now form a relationship. Her name was Alejandra. So my job was to, at that point, get connected with Alejandra on a regular basis. And I just literally said, hey, Ali, is there any way that I can get you and your you know, the people that you work with on a Zoom call or on an actual call? It wasn't a Zoom. We used Skype back then. I don't know if you remember Skype at all. I don't know what happened to Skype, but we jumped on Skype. And literally what I did is I ordered Panera. So everybody got Panera. It was delivered to their office. There was 15 people in the office. They all jumped on the Zoom call. I got every single person's phone number and email address. I know what their favorite drink is. I know what their favorite, Panera meal is. I know what their favorite salads are. So every single person already dialed in. This is all sales, by the way, you guys. I'm grabbing information. So I hopped on a 5-minute call with them. I told them exactly where my property was. I had a video on YouTube that was it's a private video. You guys can all do it. You can just walk through your house and have a private video that you only send the link to people can watch. And I gave her a video and I just kind of did a tour of the property. I said, this is what I'm doing. Here's how I operate. I'm actually working with healthcare clinicians right now, but my goal is to eventually be a solutions provider specifically for families that are displaced. And at that point, they reached out and they said, that family's interested in your property. Do you mind meeting them at the home to go through the property with them? And this is where it gets, this is where I'm going to tell everybody right now, if you're doing this for money, you're in the wrong business. At the end of the day, somebody lost their family or lost their potential, all their belongings, everything is gone. And this is when I had this one meeting where the family specifically told me like, hey, Jess, we're eating in 3 different rooms now. We're not used to doing that. We literally lost everything on our property. We just want to be able to go to a place where we could sit down and have a meal together because that's what we're used to doing. And for me, being in hospitality, it's not about us. It's about them. And the second that I started thinking about, okay, I'm just going to take care of this family and this family is going to have, everything they need. They told me that they had a fire pit that they had in the backyard. That was burned. They had a propane tank that blew up that was in the backyard as part of the fire. So I went and bought these things the family already had. And me personally, I'm just like, I was leading with empathy. And I feel that a lot of times people in this business will want to make money right away. And money's great. I mean, obviously it makes the world go round and all other stuff, right? But at the end of the day, we're in hospitality and we're trying to serve people. So as I'm talking about these numbers, I really want everybody to really put everything back to perspective that we're helping people. And the second that you start to adapt that principle and that mentality, the God or the universe, whatever it is you believe, will supply you endlessly and abundantly with the opportunities to do so. And I truly find that to be, the truth in the space. So after I met that family, I was able to hear their experience, what they had going on. I then, got them things that they wanted to have. I created a relationship with the family, and I went back to the adjuster and just said, "Hey, look, I talked to the Padilla family. I really like them a lot. I'm going to end up buying them some things for the home. There was a couple beds that they didn't like that their family had bunk beds before. We're going to order these bunk beds. We're putting a fire pit in the backyard, things that they had at their own home. And I'm glad to be able to have them in my property to have a meal together, even though that sounds silly. But that's what's good. That's what's giving me pride in this." And she said to me, she's like, "Yeah, I've never had anybody ever explain that situation. Like most people are just trying to get the most amount they can." And obviously at that point I was like, threw the number 7,500. She agreed to it, right, Jose? But when she told me that, she just like, nobody really ever talks about the guests or the people that have lost their property. It's always like, how do we get this to work? Because it's financially lucrative, right? But she's like, you
Yeah.
actually broke things down where you're not even talking about the financial part. You're talking about how you're serving them. And from that moment on, I built a relationship with that company, and I was able to build, a very solid foundation. So now that was back when we only had 2 homes, and now we have 20 just in this one market, in the specific market where I'm at, and we're serving those clients specifically. So they give us every single client that loses a property due to their fire, flood, some kind of catastrophe that happens in their home, and they know back from 2016 that we're going to serve and take care of these clients. So um, that's how it all started for me, man. Was that specific way right there.
I love it, bro. You know what I love about that? That it's all about serving the client, and basically there was a need there, and you were able to obviously help them. Not only help them, but make that a more pleasant experience. I bet you that family, once they left your property, they were like, "Man, Jesse was awesome. He did everything." They went back. They made Alejandra look like a rock star, which now is also very smart because now it leads to more potential clients. So who are the different players in this field? Like I know Alejandra is one of them. She's obviously an insurance adjuster.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like the person that if you want to build a business around insurance, hosting insurance clients, is that like the person that you need to build a relationship with? Are there different players? You said that there was 15 people in the company. Who were the different positions, and what did that meeting or who are the different positions, and who do you need to build relationships with?
Yeah, adjusters are really important, and you guys, everybody has adjusters that are here, locally in their market. If you guys go to BNI meetings, I'm pretty sure you'll run into an adjuster or some kind of representative that works for a insurance company. That's a good way to start building an actual relationship with these people. But there's also a relocation specialist. There's a bunch of different names for them, but you want to be able to just get a hold of somebody that handles claims for an insurance company, and that could be local, it could be national. A lot of these times, these big companies will handle claims. Like, say, if I have farmers insurance and my home burns, they're going to outsource that client to go, another company to source the home for them right away. So they'll source, I just talked about ALE Solutions. They're the big national giant company, ALE Solutions. They're huge. They're massive. They're a multi-million-dollar company. So they typically will go out and send somebody to find property for that specific person, while the insurance adjuster is kind of working up the process, how much their claim is going to be worth, if their insurance is covering it, if it's something that was faulty, or if it was something that was done intentional, which that happens all the time. So they're kind of doing this investigation. So sometimes there's like a little lag period in between. But the goal would be to find those agencies, those companies that are local or national that you're able to build relationships with and create a partnership. And as I talked about a minute ago, it's about solving problems. The more that you can solve, if you look at like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, like they're multi-billionaires because they solved 1 billion problems, which is why they're so, financially wealthy. Now, if we take things down just into a niche level or macro level, now we're just going to specifically put our sights around insurance and healthcare claims. And then we're solving problems for those companies. and that's where we become financially lucrative on that end. So again, everything that we're doing, it's not rocket science. It goes back down to sales, and it's about building relationships and solving problems at the end of the day. And the more problems you solve, the more money you're going to make, and the better opportunities you're going to have, especially as you build a relationship. Again, this is like Jose. This is the same mind share as you as a real estate agent. Everything
Yeah.
you do today is going to pay you in 6 months from now. And I think that 99% of people are wanting instant gratification. They want to get paid today. They want stuff to happen today, but they're not willing to put the work in to actually build a legitimate business and to, build those relationships. Because at the end of the day, real estate, Jose, has been the same for freaking 150 years, right? Like it's been. In fact, I think real estate is a little bit too easy. You buy a property, you cash flow $200, and that's cool. $200, great. But if the good thing about this is that if you niche things down even more, that same property that I can make 250 on, I can now make let's just say 4,000 off of. If you're super intentional, if you put that work and energy into it, and it's not passive. At the end of the day, this business is not passive. It takes a lot of legwork. It takes a lot of follow up. Takes a lot of systems and operations that put things together. And just like with your real estate, you don't make money on the hello, right? You make money in the hello again. It's all about
Yeah.
consistency. So that's same applies here.
Who are the different companies? So ALE Solutions is one of the companies. What are some of the maybe other companies that maybe some of our viewers can reach out to?
Yeah, so ALE, there's another one called CRS Housing. There is, State Farm, Farmers, like all the big name companies. Like those are people that you want to reach out to. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of independent operators that do housing for properties too, for people. So you might not just get this big giant company that does this. You might get a little independent person. They could literally be in your backyard, and their job is to find, work on relocation claims for these specific companies. So there's a ton of them, man. I would just start with the ones that I just mentioned right now. And, you don't need a whole bunch of companies. Like I started my business with just one, with ALE, and I built from there. And it's just the more reps you put in, the better you get at, the more you understand it. And at the end of the day, this is an actual business. It's not like, real estate where you have two different things. Real estate's the tangible piece that I can go and touch, and then this business is something that you got to work on and build. And I think a lot of times people don't fully understand, like, it's creating a business outside of the real estate. It's about touch points and connecting and follow up, the CRMs, a lot of that stuff. And you can't outsource it. A lot of it you got to start doing yourself. And then as you know it and you understand it, then you pass it off to a VA or somebody that can do it. And I think that that's the problem, the disconnect again, is people see this, they're like, oh my God, this guy's making $6,000 from a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's amazing and crazy. I want to do that. Yeah, sure. Again, it's cool. But if it doesn't go back to serving the client, it doesn't go back to serving the person, it doesn't come back to, thinking intentionally and who you're serving and why you're serving them, then you're going to be putting yourself in a bad situation. Because these claim adjusters, they feel it, man. Just like people in general, they know when somebody's authentic, when they're really wanting to take care of somebody. And that's something that people learn over time, on their own.
Yeah, I agreed 100%. Now, is it better, like, because I'm kind of trying to think, like, okay, if I was going to start up this division in our company, um, or all like ALE, do they have a local division, or is it national, or like how do you make it more local? And then if I wanted to build relationships with different insurance claim adjusters or claim people that handle the claims, would I just like Google like insurance like claim adjusters, or what would be the best way? Because I would imagine that like somebody can build relationships with the insurance claim adjusters, but also like if all the claims are in a different part of the country versus in, or how do you find out like this information is, I guess, the part that I'm trying to
Yep.
come up with.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of the local insurance adjusters are going to be able to be the key. There's no national. These companies are all national. Whatever lands on their desk is where they're going to go. So if you work with a relocation company, they're going to just whatever lands on their desk is what they're going to use. But the thing is, you have to actually get in the Rolodex. You got to like get a property. You got to list. You have to have a client stay at your house in order for you to be seen. And in fact, the people that have 5 or more properties are typically looked at in a totally different level. There's certain tiers that these companies look at. If you're a one-off guy or gal that has one property or two, you're being looked at as just like, okay, we need to go to them eventually at some point. But if you're like somebody like me that has 5, 10, 15, 20 properties, you're now looked at into a totally different tier where you become a solution specialist for that company. And for everybody listening right now, it's just like, oh, I only have one home. That's okay. Like I started with one home. you can have one home. But then you just got to build exceptional customer service. You got to build exceptional experience. You got to build something that is going to one up what Jose or myself is going to do, which is going to be very difficult, right? If we're thinking at the guest as the
Yeah.
foremost, the most important, and not the financial aspect of it. So the product at the end of the day has to be very solid, and you can't just have like a regular cookie cutter home. Like I have properties that are very well put together. They're designed professionally. They look like a magazine when you show up, or they look homely. They feel homely. I meet the families personally myself when I go there, or some of my team members do. So we're extremely personable. We build relationships with the families. Keep in mind, these families are going to tour 3 to 5 different properties. If they walk my property, it doesn't look good, it's not clean, they're not treated well, I'm in there not asking about them, I'm not learning about them, I'm not understanding what their needs are, then they're going to go to the next person that is. And again, that's why I talk about this. Business is not passive. It's about building relationships with your clients and with the agencies, because at the end of the day, they're very well connected to those insurance adjusters and those claim adjusters from day one after that catastrophe happens in their property. So keep that in mind as you're communicating with them.
I love it. Now, if I obviously, like, if I want to build a relationship with these people, like, is there a certain type of homes that they look for more than others? Like, are single family residences better? I own apartments as well too. Like, what are the different types of properties that would be better fit for something like this?
Yeah, all of them are great. I've have more bookings directly for single family homes than I do apartments or anything like that. So typically your single family that are larger bedroom, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, stuff like that, are typically better in the space because you're housing a family. And typically 3 bedroom, 2 baths homes cost more. And whenever there's an adjuster out there actually looking at the value of their home and they're dissecting what that would actually be, a specific amount. So some agencies will pay 10% of what the home's value is. So if it's $1 million property, they'll pay 10% of that over the year stretched out, which would be 100,000, right? 100,000 and some change. So they will pay, 10K a month for that family to live in a property based off the percentage of the home. And every company has a different kind of tier system. That's just kind of give you an example on like, hey, how do I price my unit? How do I, those are questions you got to ask. Like, where's the person staying? Are they, are they in a hotel? Is there, what's their coverage ratios look like? So you got to understand, the vernacular when it comes to how insurance claims work, how they cover certain things, and really understand the actual business itself. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna break down a lot, and it's gonna do a lot for you the more you know about this space.
I love it. Now, what would be like additional questions that you would ask? Obviously, you'd want to know like where they're staying right now. And I thought that was brilliant, like that you had the foresight to even ask them that on your very first one and then take a look at how much they were paying and just throw out a random number. What other questions would you be asking the adjuster as well too? And then how do you get into their Rolodex as well too? Like how do you like get into the Rolodex? Do you provide like
Yeah.
a list of your properties or pictures, or what's the best way to kind of get in there?
Yep. I just build relationships with them. I have conversation. I talk about how I can help them, what their needs are, what kind of problems they're having, how fast they need to have somebody in there, what the terms look like. They need to have flexible terms. Is the guest only going to be there for 3 months? What kind of damage is done on their home? Is it structural? Is it foundation? Then you know that if somebody has a structural damage that's pretty extensive, then let's say they stay at my property in August. I know that in Central California we have, well, it started raining now in the last couple of times. So I know that rain might be an issue. So if you have structural stuff on the outside, that can be postponed. So I will give flexible terms like, hey, is there a way that, we can do month to month after say 3 months? And you just adjust to whatever could be according to these agencies. Again, most people are in this space. They're trying to like take every single dollar that they can from these clients. And I think if you build a way to help them, but also be able to financially keep yourself secure, and then at the end goal being taking care of your client there, these companies they're gonna want to take care of you at the end of the day. So I think it's just about providing the needs specifically for the clients and being able to adjust accordingly. So there's a second part to that
If I
question. What
was
was
in
that?
Yeah, the second part was just if overlooked yeah, I forgot. The other thing I was going to ask you is if like you called me, like what would that conversation look like, just for maybe like somebody that is new to this? And let's say I'm an insurance adjuster. What would that conversation look like, if you don't mind
Yeah.
role playing that with me?
Yeah, it's just basically I just talked about it like 5 times ago, like 5 times already. You're just trying to grab information. I would ask like, what do you guys typically do for claims? Is there a Rolodex that you guys are working with? What's the trouble issues that you're running into with housing? What kind of properties you typically are looking for? All the basic questions. I think most people, and Jose, you're doing this right now, so you're like overanalyzing what that conversation is. At the end of the day, we're just trying to figure out what we can do and how we can solve problems. And if you frame everything back around that simple concept, anything that you're doing in your business, you just literally make things as simple as that. You'll definitely significantly see improvement with whatever it is you're doing. So I just ask basic questions like, what are you guys doing now for housing? Is there certain companies you work for? Are you putting people in hotels? If you do put people in hotels, like what's the typical rate you're looking at? Do you have issues placing families or people in this specific market? Do you guys handle claims regionally? Is it nationally? Is it whatever lands on your desk? What are 3 things that you feel would be more helpful for people working with companies or relocation companies? What are 3 things that landlords can do to be more successful in the space? And you just find the problems, you solve the problems. And obviously, what you're going to give me, the information you're going to give me, is going to be valuable for the next week that I have a call with you. Hey, Jose, you talked to me about insurance claims being an issue because there's not enough 3-bedroom, 2 baths. Well, what if we were able to tell you that we can actually pick up 10 new 3.2s in the next month? Does that seem like something that we can be on your preferred provider list? Is there a way that we can potentially work together? Is there a way that I can move my forfeit my or reconstruct my business according to your needs specifically, especially in this market? So just again, it goes back to like asking questions and solving questions. I have a mentorship where I talk about this all the time, and students are always just like, well, you make it sound so easy. And it's because I've educated myself in the space. Like I know what they're looking for. I know what they're
Yeah.
asking for. But then I'm also trying to extract information from them. You can't build anything or have a next follow-up call unless you have something to go back off of. Otherwise, I'll just call you and say, hey, Jose, we talked about this last week. I'm going to talk about it again. So you have to like formulate your discussions, and you have to have something to kind of piggyback off of every week of your calling. Because again, this business is about consistency and follow through. And if you're not thinking about what my next call is, by the time you end your first call, then you're setting yourself up to lose. So you got to think ahead, and those questions that you ask might be answered, and then you formulate your next call based off of what you get in this initial call. And I think a lot of times people will just jump the gun really fast. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? You're building a relationship. It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take continual calls, continual follow-up, finding more needs, and then until you are in the perfect place at the right time, and then it kind of goes from there.
What can viewers expect? Like if they do build a relationship with somebody, like should they be in contact with them once a month? Should they be in contact with, like, if they find somebody like Alejandra, like how often should you be in contact with these people?
Yep. How often are you putting out newsletters for your business and stuff right now for your clients?
Uh, we do 2 podcasts a week, and then
Mhm.
we do a newsletter once a month, basically. So maybe like 10 touches a month, basically,
Yep.
in that just aspect alone. That's not including phone calls or text messages or anything like that.
Got you. Okay, cool. Want to have that same concept. So like what we do is we have a CRM where we'll automatically send an update to every single email that's on our platform. So you can use like MailChimp to put together
Mhm.
a email campaign. So if we bring a new property on, say it's in Venice Beach or something, we'll say, hey, just want to let everybody know that we have a new property that just came on Venice Beach, 3-bedroom, 2 bath, 2 miles from the the ocean. It's in this specific sector. It's in a level, whatever the school is, 7. We'll break everything down. This business, you got to stay in front of people all the time, just like real estate. You got to have, you got to drop little nuggets of stuff here and there. You're not hard selling. You're just providing information. And I think again, at the end of the day, there's a fine line between hard selling and informational selling, where it's like you're giving information, giving more than you're asking for. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to do in this space, is really be educational and educate, and again, solve problems, and just drop little nuggets of what you could potentially do or what markets you're running into, new properties that are becoming available, and you just stay active in front of people. And I think again, out of sight, out of mind. You guys have all heard that before, right? If you don't stay in
Yeah.
front of people, they will forget about you. It doesn't matter. how it works. And imagine right now how many people have got an email from like Express, right? And you get an email and you're like, you don't care about buying a dress shirt, but all of a sudden Express says they got a 50% sale. Next thing you know, you're buying a shirt for yourself, your wife, your kids. That's just how it's the same concept that you have to have. And again, this is business. Like this is where most real estate investors are not savvy in the space at all. They don't understand what it actually is to build a business. They understand what it is to get like, real estate and rent it out or whatnot. And then a property manager will take over and do all that stuff. Property managers don't know how to do this stuff. They don't understand it. They don't get it. Most realtors, no offense, Jose, don't know how to get into this stuff either. And I also think that's a good opportunity for real estate agents right now to get in there and talk to people about this, because there's a lot of investors that bought stuff 6 months ago that are sitting on hard money loans that they need to get out of. In fact, they have to hold these properties now. They need to have a different strategy to hold, for the next 2 years and be able to cash flow. And this is a good way to do it. So all you agents out there that aren't familiar with the midterm rental space, super get connected, understand it, take classes or courses or whatever to educate yourself in it to help your investors, because we're in a tough time for a lot of investors at the moment.
I agree with you 100%. And I think this is really important because most people typically look at this just traditional, like, hey, what's a long-term rental? But I mean, if you can serve a need and 2 to 3x the amount of cash flow that you're getting, I almost feel like it starts to snowball because you have all this extra cash flow, which now gives you extra cash flow to buy the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, the 10th. And that's really a good way of doing it. Does the term arbitrage exist in the insurance claim space or no?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I arbitrage properties. So when I was growing for 2017, 2018, I did not have enough properties to meet the demand of what was happening in my market.
Mm-hmm.
A rural market, I didn't have enough. So I would actually go rent somebody else's property for say $2,500, and then this agency would pay me $7,500. I'd furnish it, and then I'm all in at say $3,300 a month. I'm still making $3K cash flow on a property per month. So again, you add that up 3 times 12 over the year. That's a significant amount of money. Yeah, of course I'm going to rent somebody else's home to make that. So there's definitely ways to get in this business that you don't have to actually own anything. It can give you a lower price point to get in, but keep in mind you still got to furnish a place. It's going to cost you 3-bedroom, 2-bath is going to cost you $20,000 minimum to get a nice place together. You got to put first month's last and deposit, and that could be $6,000. So you're all in already at, $30K, potentially on an arbitrage unit, which obviously here in California, you can't buy a property putting that much down, right? You got to put more than that down, but you could potentially buy something in the Midwest somewhere for $14,000. So again, it just really depends on the market that you're in, the opportunity that lies in front of you. And if you're scared about getting in this space, arbitrage is a good way to kind of like dip your toe in without committing yourself to owning a property. You can do it on the expense of, that first year or whatever, however long that term looks like. So definitely, man, arbitrage is a great way to get started. It's a good cash flow business to get into, especially as you're growing your, your portfolio and whatnot.
Do you guys provide like status updates to the adjuster, like as the family is in there? And then do you guys also provide like cleaning services as well too for the family as well? And what do those updates look like as well?
Yeah, so I'm huge on customer service. We have touch points for literally everything. So a day after the guests arrive, we have a follow-up check-in. It's just like, hey, checking in, how you doing? Day 3, we have a follow-up, not only just with the guest, but also the company to let them know they settled in. We'll actually call them. Our team members will call and say, hey, how's everything going so far? Are you liking everything? Are the TVs working okay? Is there any things that you have going on? Any feedback that they give us, we'll take care of, and then we'll call the agency and say, hey, just to give you an update, the family wanted this. We actually went out and got it. It's no additional charge to you guys. We're just wanting to make sure that we take care of them. So our touch points are like spot on, man. We have SOPs for literally again, you guys, this is a business. This is not like, this is not for fun for me just to make some extra money. This is me putting together an actual legitimate business where we have SOPs, standard operating procedures for every new client that comes in. Day 1, day 3, day 5, day 7, 3 months, 3 weeks in, a month in, 2 months in, all that stuff. But yeah, we offer cleaning services if that's something they're into. In our leases, we have that we can walk the property once a month with a 48-hour notice, and we do that. We'll pop in just to see what the place looks like, make sure it's being taken care of. So we'll make sure that we're on top of both the customer service side of stuff and then also the tangible real estate side of stuff, that people are taking care of the property as they are intended to do so in the lease agreement.
What about vacancies? Like, how what would you say is typical in this space? And if how long are people leasing these properties for? Is it like usually like a month, 6 months, 2 years? And then yeah, we'll go there.
Yeah, there's not really a specific time frame. I've had our minimum lease requirement is 1 month. We've had people stay for 1 month. I've had a guest stay for a year, over a year. I've had guests stay for say 3 months, and then all of a sudden, we just talked about this a minute ago. There was a lot of rain, or there was something that's going on. Their property's not getting finished in time, so it's pushing things out. And you guys got to keep in mind too, these every 88 seconds in the US, somebody loses their home due to a fire or flood or something kind of catastrophic like that. So these things happen all over the place. You don't have to be in these big giant markets, but if you don't have, they're circumstantial as well. It's like, an act of God that allows these things to happen. So everybody thinking about getting into this space, like there could be times when you don't have anybody in there at all, which is why you're making this extra money. You need to pull that aside for reserves. You might be sitting on a month and nobody being in your property. During that month, you might be able to Airbnb during that time, or do short-term rentals or something. But right now, that after I've built this business over the last 6 years, like we don't really have any vacancy at all, Jose. But somebody new starting off, you better put money aside at least 6 months of reserves so that that if something does happen, that you have the ability to pivot up, to wait on that. And that's the goal. It's like you make good money on this end, but you can't just spend it. You got to put stuff aside. You got to build your nest egg up because, you got to hope for sunshine and prepare for rain at the end of the day with anything that you're doing. And sometimes you might be sitting around after a client's there for 3 to 6 months, for a month or two with vacancy. So, again, it's circumstantial. So I can't give you an exact like number or something that would make sense.
No problem. What does the newsletter that you send out to these companies look like? And do you provide that newsletter to your students, or even like a copy of that to your students?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I give all that stuff. You're getting the master class in this call, man. Yeah, so it's just basically a newsletter that I just talked about a second ago, like what new properties we have coming out, what the potential is, what our outlook looks like. What you normally get in a regular newsletter, we do that very specific to our market. We do that very specific to any investors that we're working with, if we're bringing on new clients, if we're growing in a certain area. Any information that it would be valuable to a company, we'll bring out. We'll bring out there a new hire, like literally anything. So we definitely talk about those kinds of things. And it's usually providing education, not asking for anything. We're not asking for
What are the
clients.
challenge? What are the challenges that that the space provides, or what are some of the biggest challenges that maybe some of your students have as well too?
Yep. Yeah, getting hold of the right people. I think that's going to be very difficult. Getting return calls back. Again, it goes back to follow up. Being rejected, it's going to happen. People are going to hang up on you. They're not going to want to talk to you. It's just about following through on those things. You got to have tenacity and grit, especially if you believe in what you're doing, especially if you put your clients first. Again, your job is to make those people's lives better. And I think the more that you focus on that, getting hung up on all those other things are going to make sense when you get that client in there for the first time. So those are a lot of the hurdles that a lot of the students will run into, is just like, I'm having these issues. They're not calling me back, or I'm not getting in front of somebody, or they're not, returning my calls, or they just hung up on me. And there's different avenues of connecting with people. So it's just, again, about being, proactive, sending emails out, just giving information, staying in front of them. Because, my first client that ever landed like this, a lot of it was just follow-up emails. I was at the right time at the right place, and I sent an email out, and she responded back to me right away. So, it's kind of like building those. That's how you build relationships. Even though you don't feel like you're necessarily getting anything back, you're still giving. And that's what's most important in this space. Again, even if it's just a newsletter.
Is LinkedIn something that you guys use at all to like basically look up people with the title insurance adjuster?
Yeah, we do that all the time. That's a great way to do it. Building, that's a network. So you're building your network, and the network is part of your funnel system, which your funnels will eventually turn into conversions to, leads to conversions. So the more that you have, and that's why I talked about a CRM earlier, there's multiple different ways to get a hold of people. It's phone, email, LinkedIn, all those other things. There's, Facebook groups that have a lot of people on there as well. So there's so many different ways to connect with people, but definitely LinkedIn is a good way to connect. And again, you don't want to hard sell people on there. You don't want to go on LinkedIn and just say, hey, here's my property, blah, blah, blah. Like, those insurance adjusters can give a crap about your property. Again, it's about building value for people. Like, I get DMs all the time. It's just like, hey, I want to pick your brain. I'm not going to talk to somebody that's going to pick my brain. Like, that's not going to do anything for me at the end of the day. You have to have that same concept. you want to learn something, you got to actually like give somebody some value of some sort, give them a reason to talk to you, give them an idea to have a conversation with you. And I think people have that background. They're always extracting. They're wanting. They're taking without actually giving. And I think it goes back to that same thing, especially now since I was just on Bigger Pockets. I'm talking to you about the same stuff. I gave all that information out on there, and the same thing I'm talking to you now. So insurance adjusters are getting more people reaching out to them. So you got to be creative. You got to think of different ways to connect with these people and again bring value to them, because that's at the end of the day what everybody wants is some type of value, some way or another.
What does your coaching program look like? Like if somebody like was interested in growing a business like this and helping people, what does that look like? What does it provide? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So it basically, well, first off, I would tell everybody to go to my YouTube channel, because you can go absorb my YouTube channel for free. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about in the course is actually on YouTube for free. This podcast is free too, right, Jose? So absorb
Yeah.
all the stuff that you potentially can online for free. And if you're somebody that needs to be more like handheld through the process, we are able to put pitch templates together, decks. We even the best thing about my group, Jose, is that we actually our group on Facebook, we have a private Facebook group, and we share relocation specialties. We share nurse recruiting information. So if I'm booked, I can reach out to you, Jose. Hey man, what do you got available? Here's a client that I'm working with. I'm trying to serve them. I'm going to send this client to you because I can't serve them right now. So I've really built this community that's very forgiving. They give to other people. In fact, most of the time, if you have a property, you're going to be booked for the entire year. So unless you scale, you're not really able to accommodate everybody else. So we really built this group that is really willing to share information and give to other people. And obviously, if I'm booked and then you're not, I can pass something off to you. So, but yeah, everything to get started: pitch decks, templates, the group on the back end, which I think is the best part. You get weekly calls with me. So if there's any hurdles you're running into, any problems, pain points, like we talk about them as a group. We talk about how to analyze markets, what to look for. Everything that breaks down, the travel nursing and the relocation claim type stuff. So we break all that stuff down. And midterm rentals are a lot of different things, man. It's not just insurance. It's not just, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. If I was just like, I'm only going to do insurance, well, you're going to get hurt if you just go after one thing. Because, somebody, a guy like Jose, you could build a 20plex in my market, and all of a sudden you get market share because you created a relationship, and everything that I have is now gone. So you don't want to just put all your eggs in one basket. You want to have multiple different sectors that you're working with, and that can be construction companies, that could be business travelers, corporate housing, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to just put your eggs in that one specific basket. And that's what I teach in the class is like, here's the different avenues you can look at. Here's our exit strategies. Every intuitive investor is going to have an exit strategy before they buy a property. Literally 3 different exit strategies. And if you don't have that mindset from the very beginning that you start in the space, you can put yourself in a really bad position in time. So I talk about how to maneuver and how to get out of those situations and problems, and how to exit if you ever need to. Because look at right now, Jose, we just talked about it. I can't tell you how many investors reach out to me that are just like, dude, I bought property 6 months ago. I have to hard money. I got to refi out of this. I'm SOL. I'm screwed. I have to hold this property now. How do I cash flow from this? And this is a great way to do that. You're going to hold it. You're going to cash flow it. And then I can sell it to another investor as a profitable midterm rental already. So there's just a lot of different ways to do this. And, it's kind of just piecing it all together.
You said something about like business travelers as well too. So obviously, I know about nursing. I know about like insurance claims. You said business travelers, and I think you said one more after that. I don't recall what that one was. Is it a very similar strategy to the insurance, or how is that different?
Yep. Yeah. It just all goes back to solving problems. And I'll kind of tell you one of the things that I did that was able to help me grow my business. Have you heard of extended stay hotels?
I have. I don't know anything about them.
Okay. So extended stay
Or there's like
hotels
a
are
Marriott, right? Like a
I
Marriott.
think,
I think they have like an extended stay division, or
yeah. So extended stay is typically the hotels that most corporate companies have a contract with. They're huge. They're a national brand. They're all over the place. Extended stay. And it's called Extended Stay America. That's what they're specifically called. So a lot of these corporate companies, like, have you heard of Dave and Buster's? Where the adult arcade
yeah,
place where you can like go play.
yeah.
So I drove by That hotel that I was telling you about. Now it's blanking to me what it's called. I just said it. What is it called again? I just
Not
said
Marriott, not
no,
Marriott,
no, not
right?
Marriott.
Extended
Extended
stay.
stay. Extended stay.
Yeah,
So I
extended stay.
drove by there at night, 7 p.m. after all the construction workers were back, and I took pictures of every single work truck that was out there. And in the morning, I picked up the phone, I dialed, and I said exact same thing I did with the insurance companies. Hey, I saw you have a work truck out here. How many guys are you supplying in this unit? They have 3 hotel rooms. I called extended stay. How much does it cost per night? 175 a night. So now they're paying, 175 times 3. Now I'm looking at that, saying like, here's how I solve you. Here's how I solve a problem. Here's how we can keep your per diem pay down. Here's how we can put you in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that is literally a mile from where you're at. Where's your job site at? How can we accommodate? These guys can cook in their own place. So again, it goes back to solving problems. And I got these guys, 6 engineers that were working on Dave & Buster's to stay at my property. It was a 5-bedroom, 2-bath for 10 grand when they were paying 20,000 a month for the extended stay hotel. Now we have a contract, so anytime they supply anybody out here, they're staying at our place. Again, you guys, this is intuitive real estate. This is being very intuitive about your customers and your clients and how you're going to serve them. If you're able to solve you're able to solve problems, then you're going to be able to get residuals back. And again, all this goes back to sales, Jose. Like, this is all just straight old school sales that people typically don't apply to their real estate business. Again, real estate's one thing, and then you have a business on the other. And if you don't marry those two together, you're not going to have a successful business, because you have to have one without you got to have them both together to some point. And again, most people, 99% of people that are listening to this right now are not going to take action on it. 1% probably might. And that's just how it works, man. It takes a lot of energy and time. And I make this sound great. I make it sound beautiful. There's a lot of freaking work that goes into this. There's a lot of work. And you got to understand this stuff. And there's not very much literature or anything out there that even explains this to people. So I'm glad that you're able to give me a platform to throw out the secrets out there.
No, this is brilliant. Like, even like how you drove by the extended stay, saw the names of the work truck, then solved an additional problem for them. I think it's brilliant. Anything else that you think would be valuable to our viewers, or anything else that you think would help, or any other ideas like that? Because that right there is something that I don't think I would have thought about, but now that you brought it up, it forces you to kind of think a little bit differently as well too.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime you guys see any new construction happening, what's the first thing a construction company's doing when they're doing construction on something? They'll put a big giant fat sign out in front. It'll say, Vazquez Construction Company or whatever it is. And a lot of times these construction companies, especially as they're putting foundations together, they're not local. They're actually coming from other markets. They're coming from different places. Those people got to sleep somewhere. So just reaching out and connecting with people, thinking outside the box, I think right now more than ever is the most important, especially in real estate, because we have to get creative with certain things. And this is how I've been able to, like, I'm going to ride this recession on a fun wave when a lot of people are going to be hurting in a lot of places. And I'm watching it happen. We're all watching it happening to a certain degree, especially the people that bought flips, 6 months ago that they can't flip or they're losing money on. You got to hold stuff. So now it's just a different way to look at it. But my biggest suggestion or comment to anybody listening right now is, if you're starting off right now, think big, have a very big mindset. If you're going to have one property now, think about 5 by the end of the month or end of the year or end of the month. That would be awesome if you could do that. But think about growing big, because again, the more that you have, the better opportunities you're going to have, the different tier you're going to be looked at, not only on the healthcare side, on the construction side, the business travel side, the relocation side. You're going to have a better opportunity to house different people. And again, you don't want to put all your eggs in that one specific basket. So think big, have a grand vision, and then start implementing things daily that can put you to that vision. Because over time, all those little tiny things that you're doing are going to compound. And before you know it, you'll have 5 properties and have a pretty good, business if you continue to do so. Do all the little work, the steps to get there.
I love it. And how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way to connect with me is through Instagram. You can connect with me at the Real Jesse Vazquez, or you can just head over to my website, which is therealjessevazquez.com. And there's a bunch of information there. And I have a YouTube channel too. If you just type in Jesse Vazquez, I'll probably pop up, and there's a ton of free stuff. So you guys can check out all the free stuff on there. There's probably, I don't even know, a bunch of hours of just me talking about this stuff in specific. So if anybody wants to learn for free, that's definitely the spot to go do it.
I love it, bro. Okay, cool, man. I just want to say thank you so much for obviously taking the time to be on the show and just kind of sharing value. For our viewers out there, if you've enjoyed this episode, we had Jesse Vazquez. We talked about providing housing for insurance companies. If you've enjoyed the episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you think that this episode will be valuable to a friend, make sure to hit that share button. Thank you again, Jesse. I know that your time is valuable, and make sure, guys, to go check out Jesse's YouTube channel. I've already checked it out. Lots of awesome information and really in-depth stuff. So thanks again, Jesse. Appreciate you. And to our viewers, until next time.